Good evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest edition of WrestleTalkShow. I'm your host, Joshua Zimmerman, here to bring you the latest and greatest professional news, bits, rumors, anything and everything pro wrestling. We cover it. We want to thank our following of the WrestleTalk Show. Without you, this would not be possible. I enjoy doing each and every show, giving you different perspectives. My opinion, how things add up are really fun. Especially, I'd have to say the one thing I like about wrestling, how it often contradicts itself, either in uh, storylines or behind the scenes stuff. I love the contradiction of it. Out of everything combined, it's an amazing thing. I mean, wrestling isn't always spectacular, but nor would I label it right away as a male soap opera. But it's like it has been for years. It keeps us entertained. We like to see the war and the resolution, the back and forth, all that. But enough of me rambling on. Let's ramble about something that matters, and that's your wrestling ratings for the week and the end of last week. March 7th edition of Monday Night Raw scored a 3.92 viewership rating. SmackDown for the 4th scored. Somebody please comment on this if you find it precise, but I even put it in by date and tried every keyword I could. The guesstimation is between a 1.8 and a 2.0, but the reports that I did find said it did a below a 2.0, so just say between a 1.7 and a 1.9 for SmackDown. Impact for the 3rd scored a 1.36, which is up from February 24th's edition that scored a 1.26. So up slightly, but still the what TNA's used to anymore, between a 1.15 or lower and what you're seeing now, a 1.36. And superstars for the 500,000 people or 5 people that watch it scored a point 0.6. Jersey Shore star Snooki is to guest host next week's Monday Night Raw. And the one thing I can't understand is why didn't WWE do this? Oh, not WWE. I mean TNA. Didn't TNA try this already? And I'm just going to go on a bit of a rant here. You have WWE already with the bad message of the Vicky Guerrero weight jokes, the John Cena homo jokes, and now you're going to get Snooki the whore jokes. It's an angle that TNA tried for that exact reason, because it was the Jersey Shore and maybe they would get some fall in, um, for lack of a better word right now. I know that's not the word I meant to use. Some carryover fans that watch the Jersey Shore that would essentially watch wrestling for their favorite Jersey Shore character. But then you have my personal wrestling conflict on this, is that your demographic that you're shooting for is the kids that love John Cena, hustle, loyalty, respect, which, by the way, he doesn't use a lot anymore, who's now shooting homo jokes, and you're going to have Snooki. I wear my outfits too tight. I hang out in the hot tub. I flirt with all the guys, coming on to people, and sexual advances is a way to get ahead in life. And this is what you're putting in front of the 12 and up audience that you look for, shoot for in your toys, etc., your shows. Um, Anyone else see a problem? Just a little bit. Like, it's a little much. It's a little raunchy. Like, I'm all for getting out of the gate, like it seems, and we'll talk about it a little later. What seems like we're slowly venturing away from PG and seeing how much of it we can get away for. But I mean, to the point where it's just, let's make a gay joke about Alex Riley, or let's do a camera angle ass shot of some diva. Sexual exploitation can be done in good taste, and I don't think that Snooki, my primary thing here, I don't think that Snooki brings anything to the table. I've said in other videos, why does she get to be a host on something for what she does on Jersey Shore? If this is how she is in real life, it's nothing to, there's no qualities to like there. She's not entertaining. It's not like you're inviting Adam Carolla to come on and give you an insight about his book and throw a few jokes. She just comments on the show and her blatantness on the show. So what does she bring that could be compelling to wrestling that would possibly get that following? I mean, you might, but I don't see why is my main thing. What does she bring to the table? An entertainer is an entertainer. He takes something and he entertains you with it, whether it be movies, comedy, etc. Everyone has a talent. Her talent is just being out there and all up in your face about it. But moving on, Stone Cold returns on Raw. That was exciting, and we'll discuss that in detail in a little bit. Benjamin Shelton has a dark match on Monday Night Raw and went on to comment to say that he may or may not have a future with the company. This kind of segues into what the segmental, or what's basically happening to people that, and stories that used to matter, like we remember 6 months to a year ago. I mean, all right, let's just take the most recognizable and work down or around whatever direction we wind up going. But you have Triple H versus The Undertaker, which is a good match in itself. But to have that match, WWE completely ignored the awesome follow-up and revenge match they could have had, because they had plenty of time to build it up the way they were hiding his return until it actually happened. To Triple H comes back and should take out the guy that took him out of wrestling for a year, but instead we come on to the product, we do a stare down, we do the throat cut, the DX chop, and then you have the following week Triple H come out, basically bury Sheamus to the point where that match didn't even happen. Low blowing him, not even tough guy stuff, low blowing Sheamus, and then roughing him up, and then knocking him out by pedigreeing him through an announce table. So that not only destroys the story that you established, but a match to come from that should have been good and should have been the next piece in the story has just been completely ignored. To have Triple H come out and essentially bury the entire locker room except for him and Undertaker by literally uttering the words, in a nutshell, nothing else matters, and there's nothing else for him to prove in this business. So it's streak versus nothing. Triple H in that last week's promo has completely buried Sheamus with his actions and his words, and the locker room by saying, watch the Triple H and Undertaker match at WrestleMania, but after that, if you turn it off, it's no big deal. Way to not sell your signature event. And this goes into the next thing. You have The Rock and John Cena back and forth. Amazing. The Rock performs like no other on a microphone, completely plugged in. I'll agree to kind of want to make it seem to the live crowd that The Rock was there, and then the fans find out The Rock's there via satellite is a little low, but it's all tactics. And you have where this all relates. In that one, you have The Rock and John Cena going back and forth. So the title holder who this match should center around, The Miz, hasn't really mattered. Doesn't really factor in the hype or no hype, or Miz has to come out and do his own promo just to be recognized. And I want to say that in most Raws, the last couple Raws, it hasn't really mattered, similar to Sheamus, because it's The Rock and John Cena going at it. But the title holder who has something to lose hasn't even been factored into it, and it's just John Cena bagging on The Miz. It's not John Cena, and again, putting value behind your title, which we've discussed. John Cena hasn't really hyped the title match as the important thing it should be by saying, I want to go after the title. John Cena just won and then left the fans to just assume it, instead of explaining it in the course of the story and building. This could have went between three people and been just as entertaining, where it looks, when you watch it, The Rock and John Cena back and forth, and The Miz is just the comedy section for John Cena. But he's the title holder. I mean, explain it to me. I'm all for, and we'll get into this in a minute, but I'm all for, a comedy piece and a joke here and there, but some continuity between the three. Make your title matter. Make that importance matter. Do not hype The Rock and John Cena because it's The Rock and John Cena and forget about The Miz. Do not do The Undertaker, essentially. You should have. Do not do when Triple H returns, Streak versus nothing, Undertaker versus Triple H, and completely forget about the guy who benched Triple H, where there should be a revenge match. But instead, and you do it live the whole time, you destroy the story live in front of a live crowd by just beating him up and making him seem pointless. He was the King of the Ring winner, something that I argued a couple videos ago should be a pay-per-view and could be a money pay-per-view if it's done right. But here you have a King of the Ring that is barely there and barely at WrestleMania, where a year ago he was your champion and he was going to get the title back again, and it never happened. We argued in those days last year, we argued that his push was big and happened fast, like a Brock Lesnar. I vaguely remember citing it as, but it now means nothing. It's like it never happened. And I just don't understand why you can't execute the stories that you've set up. Why bother? Basically, what I'm asking in that news bit and in this rant is, why bother starting the story if you're just going to destroy it? There would have been no problem with doing Sheamus versus Triple H. You already had the build. You had the fans thinking that it was going to happen, and then you don't do it at all. It Why bother telling the story? That's the only point I'm going to make. Uh, it appears, even though Stone Cold Steve Austin returned, and so far it's all come to fruition, that the WrestleMania card, the matches we released, and the story for the event was apparently what's being reported believed by the PW Torch, and the more research I do on it, it seems it, or at least they're going to change the order in which things happen. There's going to be something, but the spoilers that were published and talked about last video may have been an intentional leak by the company to throw the fans so there's actually something exciting at Mania that you don't see coming. JBL returns on Raw, gets stunned by Stone Cold Steve Austin. This was pretty interesting, and how it comes to fruition. Which let me put a disclaimer up there before it happens. It's all coming to fruition so far, but we didn't really see in the last video. It didn't really make sense for Stone Cold Steve Austin to be the guest referee, because at that point they hadn't built an explanation as to why Stone Cold Steve Austin would be guest refereeing a Michael Cole match. So he basically, it's the guest referee signing. Michael Cole, JBL in the ring. Jack Swagger wins his match to throw as the trainer for Michael Cole. All this is build up. Contract signing. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out, stuns JBL. Michael Cole, Stone Cold Steve Austin stares at the contract. Cole says no, please, Steve, no. And a stunned JBL now has just, as Steve Austin signs the guest referee contract, Stone Cold Steve Austin will be your guest host for WrestleMania Michael Cole versus Jerry the King Lawler. So they explained the story, but we didn't see how it was going to happen last week, and that was the point. It just didn't make sense at the time. Now it was pretty entertaining, and that's what I mean. This thing doesn't have to be boring, but you can have some things that you don't see coming. It doesn't have to be spoiler central. That's why there's some spoilers I do and some spoilers I don't, because enjoy your wrestling. It should be exciting. I mean, what's the point in watching it if you're going to sit on your computer and just read about on Tuesday what happens on Friday? I mean, it's something to do. Get into your wrestling. Just a thought. Moving on, one of the segments of the show, one of two, and what I previously mentioned, John Cena and the homo jokes, the homophobic jokes. TNA with the erase the hate, then insert the hate with everything that it does. Contradictions in themselves. And we're in 2011. I have gay friends and lesbian friends. You have gay and lesbian friends. And It's our society. Um, New Hope, Pennsylvania is one of ours for that reason. It's socially accepted. John Cena, the master of thugonomics and all that stuff, everything he has to work with, and the writers with WWE, everything they could do with him vocally, and they go the gay bashing route. Maybe some of you find it entertaining. I know a lot of you, just by reading and listening to the podcasts and the wrestling news that comes out every day, that maybe it gets laughs, but it doesn't get laughs in the way I think WWE thinks that it does. Because, like I said, it's socially accepted. And when you're shooting at demographics 8 to 16-year-olds and minds that are just being formed and watching their favorite superstar who defeats the odds every time, their hero John Cena, send the message that because you shop at Bed Bath and Beyond and do it together, that there's something wrong with that. Just an example, and just a point that he has so much to work with that he doesn't need to use this to get himself over. He could do a Triple H return and not talk and get over. So, my question to you, and respond on the forum, WrestleTalkShow.webs.com, or directly under this video, YouTube.com/CWE Company. Why is it entertaining to you? Do you think that in 2011 it's accepted enough to where these gay bashing jokes and angles are not funny anymore? Because you're black stuff on TNA is not entertainment. It's not a ratings boost. Just tell me what you think. Shoot me an email. We want to also throw to, if you like all things wrestling, pwtorch.com has a nightly live cast, Monday nights 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern time, leading right up to Raw, and then 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, Tuesday through Friday. Very interesting. Another one, our buddies Joe Negron and Dishman at smartwrestlingfan.com. Their podcast is every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern at smartwrestlingfan.com or stickhim.com/Joe Negron. Just, friends of ours, and we'd like to think that they're hearing us and they've heard us, so maybe they'll throw back, just, and it's not, I enjoy doing this. To kind of go off topic here a little bit before we get into the rest of the news and your segment, I enjoy doing this. We have not received any donations yet. We're still working on the on-foot marketing, as I like, advertising, as I'd like to call it, or sponsorship deals. But online, nothing's come in. But if anything has started as a hobby, I would like to enhance the show. And like I said, it would be more professionally done. We could do different bits like live calls, and we are working on all of that. A bigger hosting terminal so we can do more, different stuff like that. So it is all in the works. And like I always say, visit WrestleTalkShow.webs.com for details on how you can help the show. There's a PayPal link. There's a bunch of different ways. But the second best thing to money or anything else is, if you like it, tell a friend. It's someone else that watches who could tell someone else. And that's how we increase our fan base. And we appreciate all the support you've given us. Friend us on Facebook and Twitter at both CWE Company. Post on the video, like the video. There's a bunch of different things you can do to get us up in the rankings there. So if you enjoy, if you enjoy it, listen to the others that are out there. There's a lot of different interesting and funny perspectives at all those shows and ours. But moving on, last week the crowd chanted in a Drew McIntyre as Drew was entering the ring for his match after a previous match that costed Vicky Guerrero, tag match that costed Vicky Guerrero her job. The crowd was actually chanting "Thank you, Drew," but it's been spoiled that next week it'll be a match. Sheamus and Vicky, I think they'll be together, but it's not confirmed. But they'll be involved in some way where both of their jobs will be on the line in these matches. So that's another thing I wanted to bring up. Why fire her on SmackDown if you're gonna publicly humiliate her again 2 weeks from then? Why not just build it up to this match that you're gonna have next week? There's so much throw in that doesn't need to be if you just follow through. Let me just say this. You could run 6 months to a year of good wrestling if they took the storylines that they already had. Instead, for WrestleMania, and to make it a big deal, The Rock, it was on life support, and then The Rock showed up. And then The Undertaker always does something with the streak. So that major thing had to be fixed, but it wouldn't have mattered who you got. You could have, right now, you could be in a position where it could be Wade Barrett versus The Undertaker instead of burying him on SmackDown. You could have Wade Barrett versus The Undertaker because the Nexus was involved in The Undertaker's downfall. You could have and hype that and sell that as your main event. You could have The Miz and John Cena, either the main event or right before that. And then you could have Sheamus and Triple H. So 3 good matches, 3 solid matches, because you could just, again, follow through with what you've already done, what you've already established, and create 3 solid matches, and then do what you want with the rest, because these would be entertaining matches, I think. You could have, a couple 2 pointless ones, a comedy bit, and it WrestleMania would have been fine by itself, but instead it just feels to me like they destroyed the stories that they had just to scramble for new ones. And it seemed for no real payout. They're not hyping it like they should. None of this means anything like it should for some reason. I mean, I might order it just because it's WrestleMania, but as commented on the Pro Wrestling Torch the other day, they said in their conference call that WrestleMania would showcase the new talent initiative. Outside of The Miz a year ago not being where The Miz was, everyone else that should be ahead has been buried. Where's the new talent? The Miz did all right. In consideration, he's a title holder a year after joining the company, and actually went from a reality show star that they didn't think would cut it to someone with a very notable mention, and you love to hate his character. So they're doing a great job there, but you bury Sheamus, you bury Wade Barrett. Why? once you do it, the fans lose interest. I mean, you can always get it back in a creative fashion, but I guess the whole showcase of this show will be, why create something and then stop? It wasn't like they had bad runs. WWE pushed Sheamus, Miz, and Wade Barrett right out of the gate and wanted the fan base behind it. And then WWE stopped doing things with the characters. They stopped midstream in their own investment. And you just have these guys on the roster not really doing anything. I mean, Cody Rhodes is doing great with this disfigured face gimmick, and he's created a great story with it. But everything else, WrestleMania doesn't seem as, I don't have that feeling yet. Maybe it'll happen the weekend of, I'll get a friend and we'll split it and turn it into a night, and I'll evaluate it, and maybe then I'll get it once I'm watching it. But right now, it just seems like another, I know it comes with its own separate crowd live, but if you're going to watch it on TV or webcast, it just seems like another wrestling event. And it shouldn't feel like that. It should be bigger than that. And, maybe it involves coming up with stories that have a little more edge to them, as we've noticed. The homophobic stuff, the gay jokes, all that stuff and the way the shows are ending seem to be straying away from PG, but will it stay that way? And I'm not talking about another Attitude Era, but I think we're all old enough, if we're watching it as it's intended, to, if you have a little blood, if you have a little sexuality, you have a little edginess, a little rawness, a little unpredictability, like it used to have, a little spice, we'll use the adjective, not the Attitude Era, but keep it on the edge where you have that option. I mean, I think my personal opinion as far as ratings are concerned, programs like that should be given between what were they before? They were a TVMA. And basically go with that. They accomplished everything they had. So give them from a G to a TVMA on a consistent basis. Maybe it's not possible, I know of ratings, a little bit about ratings to give you the numbers, but not how it's determined when each show is projected to be different each week. It should be allowed to exceed or cut back on the boundaries that it needs and I'll be fair with the ratings people, to fairly and accurately tell the story with the impact and entertainment that was intended. So I don't know if Josh's bit for the week, I guess we'll call that, is give them the room to where they could go either direction on a show that, like I said, different characters move on in different ways. And then you have your biggest issue of it all. You have Kane, poor Kane, in an 8-man tag at WrestleMania. And it's only sad because 6 months ago he was your world heavyweight champion, and now they kind of just threw him in a match. Yeah. I've reported stories that said Kane didn't mind not being champion anymore, more or less. Well, before they gave him his title run, which is rumored to be his last, and it was supposedly behind the scenes made clear that it would be his last. Um, he had commented that he just liked the consistent job more or less, and wasn't pursuing the title anymore. And then they gave him the title, but they then ran it for 6 months, went after Edge. Edge completely, I think, hurt Kane's character in how bad that story was. And it was just so repetitive each week. And then you basically have a man that for the last decade has been one of the pillars of the company, where you're just throwing him in a WrestleMania match, not giving him a purpose, not giving him a story. It's just Kane in an 8-man tag. I mean, what? And what I also would like comments on, what do you think they're doing? I mean, now it's been rumored, even though I don't think one has anything to do with the other, or if it does, I'll be surprised. It's been rumored that Kane might be done soon, and we know that Undertaker's contract has limited appearances, and he's worked out all the details for his age. But I haven't heard anything like that from Kane, and maybe he got a lighter schedule, and I'm just not that in the loop. But he was a superstar that was established, and now he's just being thrown into the key event for the promotion he's worked for and dedicated to for the last decade plus. Just explain it to me. I mean, I understand that regularly the stories and the character burns out, especially after the story he had with Edge. I understand that maybe you didn't know how to how to fix him from there, but that's another one that anybody who knows Kane's background could take anything and just sit down. I think these writers are just rapid fire sometimes, because if you sat down, I think you could go from story to story with continuous continuity. Believe it or not, I do think it's possible. And when you burn out, you take your vacation and you come back with something that's appropriate for the crowd demand. Like, build the story. Take the time and make the product worth watching. Story, build up, feud, resolution. Just build your story. Like right now, in theory, if it happens, Rock versus John Cena, you can hype and build that, if it ever happened, for the next 6 months to a year, and have gold every time you hype it. Just a thought, one of many thoughts. I want to thank you guys. Sorry about earlier. There was a couple of different messages that came on the cell phone that were rather important. Finally, to conclude, stay tuned for our Impact review tomorrow night. Visit WrestleTalkShow.webs.com for the forum. Post a question, answer a question. Show feedback can be commented on directly under the videos. Each and every video is archived. We have over 60 videos, so if you like what you see, you can see a wide variety of different subjects covered. Friend us on Facebook and Twitter, both at CWE Company. Donate, refer a friend. Whatever you can do, but continue to watch. Continue to watch your wrestling and speak out about your wrestling when it does good, when it does bad, and when it doesn't entertain you. Because the sole purpose of it, again, folks, is for it to be entertaining to us, the viewers. We, the viewers, know entertainment. Despite what TNA, Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo, Vince McMahon, the whole writing teams think, we want our wrestling to make sense. That's all I'm saying. Until next time, guys, thank you and have an excellent night.